1320 WILS Morning Wake Up.
I love restaurants. I go out to eat. I love it. My mother was a waitress for 35 years, and I love good service. My mother taught us how to give good service, how things ought to be at a restaurant. But if you get bad service or you want to leave a bad review, there is a new way. Well, I mean, we're all familiar with Yelp and Google reviews and all of that. Very helpful, but how many of those can you rely on? There's a scam that's being perpetrated, apparently, that can actually, for lack of a better term, shake down an eating establishment. It's kind of like the mob or something. Joining us now, Lisa W. Miller is a consultant, tons of experience. She's worked with brands from Walmart to IHOP to Kimberly Clark, Frito Lay, and it goes on and on. And she does a series of reports she calls The Journey Back to Joy. We'll find out about that. But first of all, let's welcome Lisa W. Miller. Nice to have you on your morning wake up here on WILS there, Lisa.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So a scam, of reviewing. Can this really that deeply damage? Can they shake down a restaurant for money?
That's exactly what's happening. It's, we all are familiar with our car warranty calls that we get, but what's happening today is that Google reviews, 1-star reviews, and they're coming from overseas, primarily from India. And basically what's happening is they're fraudulently posting these reviews and then sending the establishment an email, basically holding the company for ransom and saying, I'm not going to take down this review unless you pay me a $75 Google Play gift card. Now, it might not sound like a lot, but basically then what happens is, of course, if you pay it, then you're going to get like 7 more of these. And so obviously Google is trying to get on it and stop it. But it really is a problem because, especially for small businesses, their online reputation is what makes or breaks companies when it comes to new business and people coming, to try out their establishment.
This is all kind of part of doing business on the World Wide Web. It's, mom and pop used to be, local folks coming in. They knew the service they'd get and the review was reliable. But can a restaurant owner go on to Yelp or Google and personally go like, hey, you guys, just so you know, this is a scam. This review is fraudulent. Couldn't they do that?
Yeah, so basically what is happening, so a couple things. So if you are a business owner out there and you're having this happen, just Google 1-star review scam, and there are Google resources out there. So a couple things. Yes, business owners can flag a review as fraudulent, but then, yes, the business owners are actually taking things into their own hands and posting on their own social media to say, first of all, wait a minute, I'm not paying you. This is a scam. So they're literally putting that out there. And then they're telling their customers that, these are fraudulent reviews. And it's pretty obvious if you look at Google reviews and maybe a restaurant is clicking along, at a 4.0, review, 4.0 stars, and then all of a sudden it falls off of a cliff just instantaneously in a week's time. I mean, that usually is a telltale sign that something is amiss. And, that's where consumers can kind of be aware of that, but then also business owners.
Yeah, it seems to me like the best thing to do, too, is if you look at the reviews, that'd be your first step, and then go to some friends and acquaintances and say, hey, have you ever eaten at this place? Hey, have you ever go over to that place? What is your experience there? Get some personal. What do you think? It just makes sense.
Yes, definitely. I think, we've all gotten, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? We're so used to, getting those peer-to-peer reviews. And, data shows that we trust those peer-to-peer reviews more than we do other sources of information when it comes to trying new things. But at the end of the day, now the Internet has got all this fake review out there. So, yeah, there's nothing better than actually talking to real people, getting real friends' reviews and things like that. You can't go wrong with that.
We're so far down the line now. At first, when the Internet first burst forward and you first started to see reviews of various businesses, not just restaurants, but I think restaurants were among the first. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am. But we're so far down the line now, you would think the general public would be hip to this, although we're helping to make that. You are, as a consultant and getting the word out there. You would think, though, that this would be something that the average person would just go, yeah, well, I know, but it's the internet. But does that even happen?
Well, I think it's different by demographic. So younger consumers are going to be more likely to actually post reviews and actually look at reviews when it particularly comes to restaurants. But I think, the older you get, the more kind of suspect and skeptical we are of those online reviews anyway. But I do think younger consumers are going to be, like I said, more likely to post and more likely to be, more likely to use them as well. So I think it's a mixed bag on that.
Yeah, and here's my latest experience with this, and I didn't even think about it until this segment this morning. My daughter works at an eating establishment, my oldest daughter, and she came home a couple weeks ago, I think it was, and she was saying, I don't understand this review we got. There, the lady says, I used to eat there and it was great. Now the mashed potatoes are this, and the meatloaf is this and that. She goes, we don't serve any of that. So that's got to be a red flag. Huh? Wouldn't you think? Would that be a red flag for one of these things?
Right. I would tell your daughter, tell the manager about that. And then especially if it was a 1-star review, that actually could be, one of those scams. So, yeah, when it definitely just makes no sense. There's, just like on Twitter, there are a small number of people that make a lot of noise. It's the same thing on Yelp reviews and Google reviews. They're just some, unhappy people out there that they use as an opportunity and a platform. But, yeah, when it's so blatantly wrong, where they don't even serve those items anymore, absolutely that establishment should flag that as a fake review, for sure.
Yeah, Lisa W. Miller, a consultant on this. And, be suspicious of your Yelp and Google reviews. Find out from your friends and family if they've eaten at a place. And tip heavily. If you get good service, tip well. I'm totally into it. If you don't get good service, you don't automatically get a good tip in my book. But that's teaching from my mom. Real quick, in this last couple of seconds, tell me about the journey back to joy. You seem like a joyous person.
Yes, I always like to tell people, no matter what's going on in our world today, we all need a little bit of joy. I will say one unfortunate thing that came from our data this last weekend is that, if, we've had COVID as a kind of something that, locked us down and made us very fearful, then inflation. But now what's happening is there's really this data I got back last weekend basically says that rising violence is now impacting the economy because half of Americans are fearful to go in public because of fear of random acts of violence. So we're not really talking about that as an impact on the economy, but it is a reality, and it's just very unfortunate. That said, what I do like to encourage everybody, whether it's going to the pool or it's going to a movie or going to a restaurant, we can't let fear rule the day. We all need a little joy. So I always encourage people to just find that place for joy in their lives.
Love it. Love it. Lisa W. Miller, what a great way to wrap up our time today here on Morning Wake Up. Lisa, we'll chat again soon. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.